So everyone knows that cats and dogs are animals. I think that we can also all agree that both of these animals have legs, so they can both walk. Despite cats and dogs both being able to walk and both being a part of the same category of animal, they are not, in fact, the same. They can do different things, such as a cat being able to meow and a dog being able to bark. So, on that note, congratulations, you already know the basics of object-oriented programming. So, let's talk about the words we'll use. First, we have the class. A class is an object, or more generally, a thing. In our analogy, we'll have classes for dog, cat, and even animal. Classes or objects perform actions, which are just functions, like walking, barking, or meowing. So if we have a cat class, we would have a function called walk and a function called meow. Classes can also have attributes or properties. Both dogs and cats have names, like Spot or Snowball. Our dog and cat classes should thus have an attribute we'll call name. Typically, only dogs need to be walked, so we might also have a flag attribute called needs walk, which will tell us if the dog needs to be walked or not. Needs walk will only be on the dog class. Now, some of our functions and attributes are redundant, they're duplicates. Dogs and cats are pretty different, but they still both walk the same, and typically both have names. There should be a way that we can reduce this redundancy to save ourselves some time. This is where we talk about inheritance. And no, I'm not talking about Grandma's Gold Stash. When we have a few classes which are pretty similar with only slight differences, we can inherit some behavior from what's called a parent class. Our parent class here is, you guessed it, animal. Our animal class will take on the features that are common between cats and dogs. So in the animal class, we'll have our name attribute and our walk function. You could add more attributes such as eye color and size, among others. Our child classes, cat and dog, will keep their respective meow and bark functions, and the dog class will keep its needs walk attribute. So if we were to put all of this in a nifty chart, you could see that cats and dogs are under the base class or parent class of animal. That means that cats and dogs can do everything that the general animal can, like have a name and walk, on top of being able to bark, meow, or have the need to be walked. Now, if we were to look at a legit code sample of what these three classes might look like, you get something like this in C#. Alright, so if you don't know C#, don't worry about it. I got tons of videos that explain the basics in C#, so if you feel lost, just feel free to take a look at those videos real quick. Let's get started. I have the animal class up here that I've already written. It's just direct from what we were talking about earlier, so we have public string name and a walk function. So, what happens when we use those? So changing the name to Bob and then animal.walk. Alright, my name is Bob and I'm walking. That's exactly what we wanted. Now, animal is the parent class, so what happens if we try to make the animal bark? If we change walk to, alright, let's add bark at the bottom. Animal.bark. It's not going to let us. You see that red line at the bottom? It's not going to let us because animal has no access to bark, because bark is only part of dog. So this is the dog class here. Again, this is just a bit of a true or false boolean called needs walk to say if the dog has to walk. We have the bark function here, and then the do I need a walk function, which I just made, which will just print off needs walk. So if I go back here and I make a dog, I can change the dog's name, even though if we go back to the dog class, there's no attribute called name, but because it inherits from animal, you see up here, this little colon here, because it inherits from animal, and animal has a public string name, we can change the dog's name to Bob the dog. Okay, and dog still has access to walk, which is in the animal class, and dog needs walk. Let's say this dog needs a walk, and we'll put this down after. That makes a little bit more sense. And dog, do I need a walk? Okay, let's run this. No, that's wrong. Oh, we kept that line in there. Alright, let's run that. My name is Bob and I am walking. So that's the animal. And does this dog need a walk? Yes. My name is Bob the dog and I'm walking. So you get the idea. It's the same thing with the cat class. The cat class is a little less interesting just because it only has access to meow, but that is inheritance in a nutshell. So we're going to go back to the other part of the video and we'll explain a bit of a real world example. Right, so using cats and dogs is a good learning experience, but how can this apply in the real world? What about an appointment scheduler application? So first, you would have a main class called appointment. Some attributes could be start time and an end time. If you wanted to make specific appointments, say something like a restaurant reservation, you can make a child class that inherits from appointment with additional attribute location to show which restaurant to go to, and maybe another attribute for food recommendations at that location. Another potential child class could be work meeting, where you specify a room attribute, a topic attribute, and maybe a list of who else is attending. Anyway, I think that's all for now. There's still a lot to learn when it comes to object-oriented programming, but this video should have provided you with the basics you need to proceed into more complicated subjects. I hope you enjoyed the video, so feel free to give us a thumbs up and subscribe.